Coach, obviously it's a long season. You get 36 games, I think, left to play. But when you're going through kind of like a mini slump like this, what's kind of the message to the team, and where's kind of their mindset right now?
Our mindset is to just show up every day and get better. That's all you can do. My goal is just make sure we maximize our talent, our program, maximize what we can do every single day. So we've had stretches this year where we look really good. We've had stretches this year where we let one-run games slip away, and to me that's my biggest frustration as the coach. Is I want to do something to help these guys win those games, and we have to continue to work through those. If we've been getting blown out, by 7 or 8 runs, and that's how most of our losses have happened, then I think, we could all say, well, maybe we need to mail it in, and that's not the case at all. We're so close. But we need to make sure that we eliminate these small mistakes, these mental mistakes that have cost us games. Just this past week, I think some mental mistakes, some correctable mistakes cost us one-run games. And to me, that's the biggest thing that we're focusing on as a coaching staff right now. Is we got to stay positive. We need to have good stability in the program in terms of how we approach things, and let the guys know what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and just get better and improve. That's the only approach that will work at this point.
I know you weren't here last year and can't speak to that, but a lot of the losses were similar last year. A lot of close losses, a mistake here and there. Do you get a sense from the guys that they're in the here we go again kind of mode, or they kind of past that and feel like you can get them to turn those games around?
Yeah, as you said, all I can see is what I see in front of me here, and I see a team that's frustrated and disappointed, but I have not seen a team that has done anything other than go full bore and attack baseball games. And once again, it's up to the players and the coaches together to bust through that threshold. And the last 8 SEC series last year didn't go our way, and the first 2 big series this year, when you look at Clemson and Florida, we lost both game 3s by a run. So we just have to break through that threshold. And at some point, when you do break through, that's when the guys start to believe. Confidence is a big thing, but sometimes confidence comes from you actually do it, and you get that big hit, and now it feels like it builds on itself. So we just have to break through that threshold and then create momentum from there. It's the only way you can do it. It's not going to happen because you hope it happens. It's not going to happen when you feel sorry for yourself. The only approach that I know is to just continue to attack.
Mark, you mentioned last night the fact that you have to keep the team together and not allow any cracks. How much of that falls on you, and how much falls on maybe the senior leadership?
I think both. Good teams have good leadership at the top, and I take that very serious. Our staff takes that very serious, but also you do need your veterans to make sure that they are echoing the message. I think the message is good, so it's up to our guys, and they are doing a good job of making sure they echo that message, that everybody stays on board, that everybody pulls on the same rope. I know those are cliches you hear all the time, but they're important, and you can go 2 ways. When you struggle, it can make you weaker or it can make you stronger. My job as the leader of this program is to make sure that our struggles, we learn from them, we understand why we're struggling and what needs to be adjusted, but also that they make our team and our players stronger from going through them.
You referenced a little bit to it, but just carryover in baseball. So for example, had you cracked through and got 1 or 2 more hits on Sunday and you win that game against Florida, do you think that would have helped last night? How much is it just a matter of carry over from one game to the next and getting that breakthrough like you talk about?
I think every game is its own entity, and so we say it all the time. We try to go 1-0 today, so you go into Tuesday night's game saying yesterday doesn't matter, tomorrow doesn't matter, we're just focusing on today. But confidence is a big thing in our sport. When you have confidence, it does carry over individually and as a team. As you start to win some of those close games, it builds on itself. You get momentum. You feel like it's going to come your way. And so right now I feel like in the dugout I'm telling guys, hey, believe it's going to happen, believe it's going to happen. When it finally does, I'll have to stop. I'll be able to stop saying that, and they'll just know it by themselves. But it's a process. Doesn't happen overnight. You don't go, you don't become the most confident team in the world overnight. You need to continue with the proper process, and you need to continue seeing results that can build on themselves. So had we won Friday, or had we won that game against Clemson, does that maybe help you win some games down the road? Maybe. but you still have to have a today mentality.
Cortez had the homer last night, had a couple of hits. You see signs of him getting that stroke back to where we saw it last year?
Yeah, I think so. He worked on some things yesterday that I saw instant carryover into the game in terms of balance, in terms of being ready to hit more than just one pitch, in terms of being in a position where he could handle the ball away, which he's not done a good job of a lot of this year. So I saw some things that weren't just false hope. I saw some things that he worked on and that carried over into the game. He had the double to left, he had the homer to right, he had a big walk late in the game. So I saw a good hitter last night, and I think he just needs to build on that. I think it's well chronicled that he struggled early last year at this point. Last year at this point, he was hitting 182 with no homers and 1 RBI. So he's well ahead of that, and hopefully he can continue to have a great second half or second or the 2/3 of the season. If he does that, then we'll be a better team.
Mark, how would you assess your catcher play through the first 21 games of the season? And when filling out a lineup, how much do you take into consideration maybe a pitcher's preference on who catches him?
I think they've done better than what we were anticipating in the early spring practices. I think they've both stepped up their game. I think they've both caught well enough to help us win from a framing perspective. I think they've blocked well. We only have a couple pass balls. I think for the most part, the stolen base has been hard to get against us. Obviously, when Adam Hill pitches and Chris is catching, that's been probably our biggest weakness, but that's correctable. And the great majority of stolen bases against Chris have been, in that scenario. And Taylor's done a great job of throwing runners out all year. So defensively, I'm very pleased with where those guys are. I think they're both, Chris is hitting about 277, Hunter's in close to 250. So solid offensive numbers. I think they can be better, and I think they will. But for the most part, I think they're doing a good job.
Coach, you talked about moving on and being positive after losses. Has there been a player that's kind of been the voice that has stepped up after losses in particular, saying, all right, let's move on, let's keep our heads up, et cetera?
I mean, the guys you would expect, the Stokeses, the Tolberts, the Brides, and there's more. I just think they're all trying to do it, and, leadership evolves over the course of a season. Sometimes it's your best players that feel like they should do it. Sometimes it's guys that maybe don't play as much, but they just have those characteristics. Last night I saw a team that was a little pissed off, which is okay. When you lose a game like that, you should be a little bit upset. And, it's not always just positive. Sometimes we need to check ourselves too. And I think we have the right mix right now of understanding that our record right now should be better, but also that doesn't mean you become negative and you mope around. There's only one way to get things moving in a better direction, and that is to stay positive but also realistic in what needs to improve.
Mark, each of your freshman pitchers have done well at times, but over the course of the last week, each one of them have had some tough moments. How do you keep those guys upbeat, and is that a bigger challenge than your older guys because they haven't been through it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is our freshman pitchers have probably done better than we thought they would at this point in the season, especially those under the radar guys, the Coins. I think you saw when Florida came in here, they had two of the best freshman pitchers in America in Mace and Leftwich, and they both got hit around pretty good by us. So freshman pitchers are going to have some good days. They're going to have some bad days. I think that's where you need to have a good, stable environment for your guys to develop in. Not get too high, not to get too low. You just have to have a stable environment so they understand it's part of growing up. It's part of the process. But they've done really well for us. I mean, our ERA right now is at a place that I don't think anybody anticipated, and that's a testament to them. It's a testament to Skylar. So we just need to keep working.
What have you seen out of Georgia so far, and what kind of challenge do they pose to you guys?
Georgia's an improved team. I think everybody's aware they've struggled for a few years now, but they may have turned the corner. They have some young guys that are growing up, and their record is in a decent spot. I think better than it has been in the past at this point. So, Coach Strickland is a pretty close friend of mine, and I know he does a good job preparing his teams. So, it's an SEC program. I mean, it's like most SEC weekends. You better go play really well on the road, or you won't have success. So I think they're a pretty good offensive ball club. They've got a hitter in the middle of the lineup with 9 homers already, and their pitching will be solid. So they also have a new pitching coach that seems to be doing a pretty good job with his guys. So it's like every other SEC weekend. You better bring your A game.
Coach, how has Adam kind of helped some of the younger guys in this rotation? And do you see him as kind of the go-to leader? He's your Friday night guy, but kind of off the field too. Is he kind of the leader of the pitching staff?
Yeah, I think Adam leads by example. He just goes about his business. He's one of our better guys. I think he's a lead by example type of player because he does put in a lot of work in the weight room. He does put a lot of work in the bullpens, and he takes his craft very seriously. So I think he's a lead by example type of player.